If you need ChatGPT to map out all of your systems, you've got a major problem and it's going to cost you a lot of money to try and fix them. I've spoken with a lot of businesses in the last 12 months while building Clipflow who are looking for systems to solve their problems. But after building a business from the garage to a 180 mil exit, we learned that there's more to business than fancy systems. And here are 3 things that you need to consider before adding the next system to your stack, because those things, look, are just not helping you out. So first thing is we need to understand the process. So what is the process that you're trying to solve? We need to figure out, before adding any elaborate systems and processes, we need to figure out what are we trying to do? And then how are we doing it? You've got 5 customers and you really don't need a new shiny automation tool right now. You need to look at this. Like, how many customers do I actually have? I've seen this happen so many times. It's actually quite frustrating. People have like 5 customers and they're like, I have 5+ customers, 7 to 10 customers. And this happens so often. It's actually crazy. And they're like, I need to figure out how to automate it all. And I need to fix my systems to, so that I can be hands off. I've got a real little spicy take for you. And hopefully it's not new information, but you can't actually be hands-off when you're trying to build a business. That is a myth. The 4-hour work week is a literal myth. If you want to build something that it actually is of value, you need to be doing it, and you need to be doing it all the time. I'm just going to have that little rant because I think it's super important. Next, we need to, sorry about that, but here we go. Soz, not soz. We need to map out what it is that we're actually trying to do. How do we get from point A to point B? What are all the steps in between? Before even thinking about another system, you need to think about what is the process. Now, you need to do this manually. Do it manually first. Manually, please. You need to understand the problem set. Now, there's a real good example of this right now for us in Clipflow, actually. Daryl, one of my co-founders, is working really hard on social media publishing and managing those posts. We do so much content, it's crazy, but he has to post it and he's figuring out what it looks like to actually post content that resonates with users. He is doing it manually. He's trying all the systems, right? But what we're finding is you need to do it yourself to learn the problems. You need to identify them. This is the thing of a founder, a little bit of a side rant. Figure out the problem, figure out how to solve it, and then reproduce it, and then create a process around that manually. Then try and systemize. That comes later. So do it manually, then systemize when you have scale. We'll touch on that a little bit later. That's the first thing. We need to understand process. From there, this is another thing that I just see just going wrong and where systems are just adding chaos. Where is my data? How do we prevent this data spread? And it's like, what's the source of truth? When we talk about computer applications, we always have the database is the source of truth. It is the place where we store all the information. But where is that in your business? When you create or use multiple systems, right, you're creating silos of information. There's a whole bunch of these little network things here that you're like, yeah, they all talk to each other. Do they though? Do they really? It's going to be very difficult to get a clear picture of where things are up to. And you're also going to not be able to find bottlenecks in processes because people are going to be just tool hopping all day across multiple things. Data gets lost, the team gets confused. Where's the login for that? I don't even remember. You got to pay for multiple seats across multiple systems. And what happens? What do you care about? We care about our clients getting frustrated. So they're going to get angry here. You got the fumes coming off their heads. Your clients are getting frustrated because you can't report to them, you can't track, you can't tell them where anything is. Because you got all these cool systems, right? You automated everything. You're doing a great job. Then everyone's like, someone says to me, well, you can sync it all. With all the cool tools, you can create this great system so that they all talk to each other. Show me your systems that do this, right? It just adds another layer of complexity. We know there's some of the lads out there adding to this with all the promises. We want to have a single source of truth before we can figure out adding another system to the stack. Ideally, what you want to find is a tool that replaces multiple, right? When you get to this stage, don't add more. Figure out how you can have less, because the more that you have, the more complexity you have, and the harder it is to actually do anything. So what we're talking about is more systems, more chaos. And I've just seen this happening far too much. This is another problem with it. People don't consider this a lot. The next shiny tool will not fix your problem. It's a distraction here. A lot of people are just like, oh, there's something else that's going to solve my thing. It's great marketing. We all make promises as marketers, and that's what we're trying to do. It's like sell the dream, right? Obviously. But you have to be very careful. And one of the reasons why is because there's a whole bunch of effort that comes with constant change. And what we're really talking about is the cost of change. What does it cost your team in changing constantly? Because you find the new system, You said, this will do it, and this is the one. You have to now get all your team learning that thing. They all have to go back to school, and then you can tell them about all the stuff, blah, 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 blah. And they have to go off and go and redo that and relearn new things. So you've now got new systems, new training, more time to train, and you're just wasting stuff. So one thing is that I've seen across the internet, you're going to get a 5% improvement in productivity if you just leave everything the same. People are just going to get better at using the tools that they have. They're going to figure out little shortcuts. They're going to learn the hotkeys. They're going to do all those kind of cool things, and they're going to get 5% more productive. Now, if you introduce a new system, you're probably going to get about a 20% decrease in productivity because people now have to learn it, and they're going to be slower, and they're like, I don't know how to use that feature in this new platform. So you got to be aware of that. So you really got to look for systems that offer you 40% plus in productivity, right? There has to be a big reason for that change or adding that tool to your stack. So what ends up happening here for most people is you have 50 plus systems or apps that you're running. You feel super cool about it because it's so complex and it feels great. You're like, yeah, I nailed my system. But guess what? You've just created a whole bunch of mess and chaos. And in the end of the day, simplicity trumps everything. That is the thing that you want to look for. Find the simplest solution. That's always what you see. The simplest solution even wins out in technology, right? What is the thing, it could be super cumbersome, but what is the thing the user can just understand? What is like the iPad? What can a kid just come in and just boom, understand what it has to do as fast as possible? That's what we're looking for when it comes to building businesses, right? So stop adding new systems. That's what I want to say. Just stop it. Stop it. Systems aren't the solution. Find the real problem. That's what I want you to do. Now, do you need more systems, or are you just distracting yourself from what's really important? Is it just a bit of fun to just constantly be adding new systems, right? You're leveling up your systems game. You're like, yeah, I got another system point here for me. Is that what you're doing right now? You're just using it as a way to level up and just think that my business is so complex, no one can beat this. Truth is, a simpler system will beat you. They'll be able to execute faster. So figure out what the real problem is. Find out what the real problem is. A lot of people reach for systems and think this is the solution, and it ends up just creating more problems. Find the real problem in your business. So do it manual. You've got 5 customers, bro. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine. Let's solve it manually. Then we go for automation later. When there is volume, when you're making money, when you need to, when there is some real benefit. When you no longer can do it, then scale. When you have volume, then you have the reason. Then you get the double tick to go outside. Look for something that's going to give you an outsized return on investment. Something that's going to put in the effort, but you're going to get a massive reward at the end. Now, tell me, if you're still watching this video, what things do you reckon you should implement from day one? Are there systems that actually you think should just happen straight away? Or do you reckon that going manual first is the way, like I said? I reckon this is the one. Figure it out inside and out, and then look for the solution. If you like this video, please like it. Please subscribe to the channel. We're making a lot more content like this. We learned a lot of things when we built our business from 0 to 180 mil, which we sold. It took us about 8 years to do that. Good ride, lots of lessons. Stay tuned. And until next time, we'll catch you on the next one.